What's up, YouTube? Welcome back to your daily dose of Diablo. My name is Mr. LaMSC, and today we will be discussing the 5 most OP items in Diablo 2. Now, this is not the brand new content where nobody has ever discussed any OP items in Diablo 2, but I do want to go through it in a little bit more categorized way here, where we really get down to the nitty-gritty and discuss some of the pieces. Of course, I do have some videos on some of them in other ways where I've talked about like how good it is, how good certain items are and what they do and more detail around them. But, I feel putting it all together is a fun way to go about it. So with that being said, let us dive on into number 1. Gosh, hold on. No. Okay. Number 1. Mosaic. Now, this is Mathel here playing on his Mosaic Assassin running around in cows. I don't think it is a perfectly optimized build with it. You can also see he's not even using the most damage for the build, as he is using Phoenix Strike 3. So Phoenix Strike 2 is actually stronger, where you just build up 2 charges, and then you get the lightning. And the Phoenix Strike, the lightning is pretty disgusting. But Phoenix or Mosaic has been added to the game and is honestly one of the grossest items that exist. This is the most Path of Exile Diablo 4 like, and you can see he's not even playing it fully correctly. But this is one of the grossest characters in the game, just spammy and, it blinds you. The damage is all over. The health regen is all over when done correctly, and just creates a nightmare of scenarios. Here is my gameplay of this, and this is me going through on players 64. I hacked the game and took it to players 64. I actually took the Charge Strike Javazon, the slash Lightning Fury, the Hammerden, and the Mosaic Assassin, and I took them through players 8, players 16, 32, 64, 128, etc. And this is her on players 64 of the hacked game, where the Hammerden had to tap out. Here is him on it, and he had a really hard time. It was just a struggle to kill anything. So he had to tap out. The Javazon had godly gear. I'm talking like J-mod on and everything here, and was still struggling with all of it. And the Mosaic Assassin was just absolutely cruising. Not only did she do fine on player 64, she did fine on players 128. Oh, there's the Hammerden just like failing on 128 in there. So she does fine on players 128, able to clean up in a pretty decent amount of time considering. She also was able to go on players 256. You can see I was rolling her a little bit better gear because her gear was not actually that amazing. We took her to players 512. We took her to players 1050 or whatever, and then 2048, where she was still able to dominate. On players 2048, she was able to actually kill things and then survive. Absolutely disgusting. So Mosaic is... There's, again, I can do a whole talk on Mosaic, but the general idea is right here. This was the old one. It actually, this was before they boosted it, actually. Thank you, Nadine. So let me find the current, actually. Mosaic current. Here we go. Always prepared. This is your current Mosaic, and the reason it's so broken is because charges were not meant to not be consumed. Charges are OP. when you put it all together, right? You build up your 3 charges, your 3 charges, your 3 charges, right? You do all that stuff. And then the idea is you spend it and it's this really OP one burst, but that's it, right? That's not how it works. Once you no longer consume the charges, every hit is that OP hit, and it just gets absolutely disgusting. And then when you're kicking 5, 6, 7 kicks at a time, every kick is generating all of those charges, and so it's super spammy. So 100% chance for finishing moves to not consume charges. I actually am the one who fought for this. So if we do look at that other one from prior, oops, that's the wrong one. Was it here? There it is. If we do look at this, I actually saw this and I said, hey, I think this should be changed to 50% chance for finishing moves to not consume charges. And then there should be some like cold, light, fire skill damage added, right? Like give it something else there. So I was actually all in favor for this because it just wasn't, it's trash if it's 50%. Now it's like going in and out and on and off. And it's really a horrible way to play. But going with the 100% chance of having the 2, I thought you would need to really tone down and make some other adjustments. And with none of the other adjustments, unfortunately, it just got disgusting. So you can blame me for it if you would like. But yeah, it just got really, really gross. So again, things that need to be done with this. I have multiple videos about all sorts of ideas. The main thought, of course, is either A, reducing the power of martial arts in some capacity. But my bigger thought is changing this, bringing this piece over to just claws in general. Every claw has 50% chance for finishing moves to not consume charges. So you can just run around with your dual claws and then you're good to go, right? But then you do a big shift on the actual martial arts tree where you're starting to reduce the power of those. Obviously, the AoE and like how it flashes the screen and all of that. You could do some delay if you want with the amount that gets kicked out or whatever But yeah, I think it's remove this piece, make the claws still have some nice like elemental damage, so it becomes this. You still maybe want to run mosaics for these elementals, right? You can get like 3 claws of thunder and then the plus 15 light skill and whatever. And so you can still get this nice damage, but you're removing being able to stack like 6 at a time. And not just that, but also the power of some. Because again, you can run around with just claws of thunder and regen, honestly, and you'd be amazing. And maybe if you want like one other Phoenix Strike 3 or something. So you have to do multiple steps to nerf it down. But this is the strongest item in the game right here. You can argue it's Enigma, but this is the brokenly, it makes the game not look like Diablo 2 item. And so, I really hope they address this. This is my number 1. And it cost a mal and a goal. You can get, you go to the Hellforge a few times, rush a few people, go as a party of 8. Everybody does their Hellforge, and you might be able to make Mosaic, or 2. Pretty disgusting. So, Mosaic, number 1. Number 2, I'm going to go with Grief here. This isn't exactly in the order. You could throw Enigma to number 2. The reason I put Grief at number 2 is because Grief absolutely destroys every other weapon completely in the game for a low rune. And so I am kind of using cost as well. Like at least Enigma is Jaw and Burr. But this is a low rune, and all of the godliest rares and everything that you've ever thought in your wildest dreams of equipping immediately gets destroyed by Grief. Now again, why is this so? The reason is because of the calculation for how damage gets applied. It is also the idea that other weapons are trash. I think other weapons do need to be brought up, but it is because of how damage is applied. Here is damage plus. So whenever modifiers exist and the way that they go through is from top to bottom here. So you have base weapon damage, then ethereal weapon bonus enhances that. Enhanced damage on the weapon enhances that. Enhanced max damage on the weapon enhances that. Plus min and max damage and adds damage, which this is also why you can see that, like, you know, charms, 320/20s and you know, rings that have +9 to min damage and stuff like that are very valuable because you're getting them at this stage of the equation. So that is very helpful. But grief is right there at the exact same point. So think of all the, you could max fill your inventory with 320/20s, and that's how much? 120 plus 120 damage, is that right? Because you get 3 for that's 30, and then yeah. You get plus 120 damage, and then you can just get a grief and add 400 more damage at this point. So you can have all these other things, your 320/20s, you can have your, or if you want, you can do your 14 maxes and get those all across. And you can have your +9 min damage on all your rings, all the like max mods you can get in all these places. And then you just come in and slam grief's 400 damage on top of it. And again, even a min rolled grief is still better than any rare. Because it's at this point of the formula. Because then comes in percent damage, then comes in percent damage to demons and undead, then comes in deadly strike, crit strike, then comes in your percent skill damage. All of these pieces come afterwards. So you add in your 400 damage. And again, note that percent damage is coming before things like skill damage and such. But the damage plus is not. So you add in your base weapon damage, and then add 400 on top of that. And then you add your strength, right? So, okay, I have, 156 strength, so I get 156% more strength. And then I have my sword mastery. And then I have my mercenary might aura, which might be another 200%. My sword mastery could be another 150, 200%. And then any deadly strike or critical strike is going to double the damage. And then, yes, everything, strength affects that flat damage. Auras affect that. Everything basically affects it except for the enhanced damage on the weapon. That's pretty much it. Everything else affects that damage, and it makes it absolutely bonkers gross. As if that's not enough, it also gets added to smite. So not only are all of your barbarians and all these things just godly, which again, you can shove this into your phase blades, and now you're hitting max whirlwind frames and things. But I mean, it goes with any melee, right? Just it's insane for any melee. And then here's like for berserk, right? Conversion to physical attack damage. So that's happening afterwards. But it also goes to shields. And it's disgusting because your shield may be like 60 smite damage, 50 smite damage. And then you get holy shield, and okay, let's say I get some really good holy shield. It's level 30 or something. That's another 100 damage added. Boom, now I have like 150 damage. And then comes in grief, and I just add 400 damage on top of that. And again, this is where, okay, and then you have your boost from your from smite, the actual skill, right? So then you're getting your percent boost of like 500% or whatever it is that you have right there. That is applying to the 400 added damage as well. So now you go from dealing, 500, 600, 700 damage to 2,500, 2,600, 2,700 damage with your smite. Literally 5x's it by just having this disgusting add to smite. So it's this one as a personal like attack to me, because again, there's so many amazing rares and awesome weapons in this game, and even other rune words that I just love, and they all just fall short to grief. And if you're gonna dual wield, what should you dual wield? 2 griefs. That's it. That is the best build, is just the second grief over there. It also feels really bad playing a barbarian or anything else where you go in and you hit and then you get like no damage, and then you eventually drop your low rune, and then all of a sudden your character is like flying and it's great, right? It's a terrible it's one of the biggest jumps in power in the game, if not the biggest, besides maybe Mosaic Assassin, is right there. So again, I wish that other weapons were better to bring it up because, other weapons kind of suck. Crushing Blow is not on this chart because Crushing Blow doesn't matter with damage. Crushing Blow is just a % of maximum HP, so it doesn't matter. That's just irrelevant there. So yeah, it's pretty gross, just overall. That's all I can say. It's just grief to me. Goes number 2. In number 3, Enigma, which has shifted the game. Now, I find Enigma slightly less OP, but more required. One, it does cost Jaw and Burr. So at the very least, it costs 2 high runes that are actually like pretty high up, right? Those are almost the highest runes that we have. Just Cham and Zod coming after that. So I do like that it actually has a big cost to it. And, if you remove bots and all those things, like it actually can take some work to get there. Solo self-found, it can take many hours, 40, 50 hours to get yourself an Enigma, which can be just a really cool goal. So I do like the cost on it. It shifts the game style, but maybe kind of in a necessary feeling way somewhat, right? There's not really a lot of movement skills in Diablo 2. Diablo 2 isn't a game like Path of Exile or like, newer games that have, okay, now you have like really fast leaping, or you have, shooting your arrow and then you teleport to your arrow or anything like that, right? It doesn't have a lot of movement for a lot of characters. And so because of that, teleport kind of balances a little bit. Because if you go back to pre-Enigma, 80% of characters were just sorceresses. That was just it. It was just, you played sorceress because eventually you needed teleport, and so you just teleport everywhere, right? Sorceresses just dominated the ladders and everything. And this at least did give more variety. Now, that being said, it is still disgusting, right? Take away the teleport. It is still 2 to all skills, 45 faster run walk, a massive amount of strength based on character level, which is huge considering spirit needs and other armor needs. This removes your need to put in strength for a lot of characters. Between this, Annihilus, Torch, you're good, right? Increased max life and damage reduced. These are Jaw and Burr, of course. 14 life after each kill. % damage goes to mana, and then a massive amount of magic find based on character level. So even if you take this away, it still can be a best in slot armor. I have run sorceresses before where I just put Enigma on. I'm like, yeah, that's the best option for me at this point. Like, I don't need FCR from, Viper Magi or anything. Like, I'm good on that. So I'm just going to put on Enigma. And that kind of feels bad when it's like, man, I don't even need it for the thing that it is literally like so godly about. It's still just a godly armor. I definitely think you could drop down some of these other stats. The strength is kind of ridiculous, and the magic find is kind of ridiculous, I feel like. The other stuff maybe sticks around more. Obviously, there's also like really good defense on it and things. But I feel like those two could be dropped a little. But additionally, I think there's more to be said and done with Enigma overall. I'm going to increase my size a little bit. I feel like teleport potentially is the issue here. I do think you need some sort of teleport within Diablo 2. You need some sort of movement. There needs to be a way for a character in the end game to get to a dead end, see that like right over the wall is where they need to go, and teleport over, right? it'll be really annoying if everybody has to carry around teleport charged stabs and things like that. So I do think there needs to be something that provides that in some capacity. Whether that is you explore 3 to 4 different options of teleport-esque skills, right? Or kind of like they have in PoE, where you have your flame dash, you have your leaping, whatever it is. Like you have kind of some various ways to quickly move around with your characters. Though again, with Diablo 2, I do think you need something that is taking you like over walls, because that's kind of one of the biggest benefits. Is there's a lot of times where you're running a map and then you have to go over a wall. Whereas I feel like in Path of Exile and a lot of these more modern ARPGs, the maps are very just like open and you can always kind of like get to where you need to go. You're not really running into these like, oh, I need to go over a wall. So something of that capacity. I also think there's a way of removing teleport or adjusting teleport in its current state to be a charges based skill. I feel like a lot of people are going to give me hate for this, but I think that is potentially the way to do it. Have it be charges based, where you are literally getting 3 or 4 charges, but they replenish, right? You replenish 1 charge every 2 seconds or 4 seconds or whatever it is. Like javelins, right? And I think that could actually be a really good solution, because the worst one is putting a cooldown on it. Because you never want to teleport one time and then have to wait a cooldown. I hate that suggestion. People suggest it all the time, and I absolutely hate it. Because, like I said, in Diablo 2, blind teleporting is something that you are going to do very often. You are going to need to teleport over a wall. You are going to need to teleport, where you cannot see. And if you go over that wall into might aura, fanaticism, whatever, and you have to wait 2 seconds, 1 second, 3 seconds to teleport again, and now you die, it would just be miserable. What's better is you have 4 charges of teleport. So now you don't spend your last charge of teleport to go over that wall. You always make sure that like when you're going over the wall, you have another teleport charge so you can teleport back or you can teleport forward, whatever it is that you need to do. I feel like this is much more beneficial and something that I would love to explore. I know it would be really difficult because, again, that'd be like changing so much of what Diablo 2 is at this point, probably messing too much of it up. People would be really mad. I think it would also be really fun to add for like PvP and stuff, to have kind of this like charge piece. Though, does that make Boazons like way too good now? Possibly. But something along those lines. Yeah. Regardless, I feel like this right here is your godly, it's a fantastic armor, and it changed up what Diablo 2 was. At least it cost a lot, and I do think there is like benefit to having it in the game, but still probably a little OP, right? Number 4, Spirit. I mean, we knew this had to be on the list. For the low price of Tal, Thol, Ort, and Amrune, you get a Spirit. Now, what is really disgusting about Spirit? I actually don't hate the cost in this case. Because with a Monarch Shield, Monarch Shields are Hell and 156 Strength. And a higher level required. So I don't hate a Monarch Shield for it because, like, okay, it's coming later. So even though you can get these runes at Nightmare Countess, you're not really wearing this until Hell or later on, right? But I more hate it that it also exists in a weapon, so you can make godly weapons early on. And then also Paladin shields, which like are just the most broken thing. I should maybe just put Paladin shields on this list straight up. The fact that you can get 3 open socket, 4 open socket shields with 45 all resistances and then put godly rune words within those things are disgusting. Paladin shields could be on here, but then you just might as well still say Spirit, because Spirit in that Paladin shield is just absolutely broken. The strength is 146 because this is ethereal. So a lot of people then have an ethereal one for their offhand swap for CTA. Anyways, just to have it because it's +2 to skills, so it just becomes godlier. Really super busted. So again, it's crazy cheap, but all of the stats are just really good. It gives you the resistances, except fire. It gives you some magic absorb, which is really nice. It gives you 92 to mana, which is a ton of mana. And for the cost, and especially when you're starting out early in the game, and it's 90 to 110 mana, or 92, whatever. And like 3 to 8 magic absorb and stuff. Getting 100 mana is so good early on for so many caster builds. It's up to 112. I thought 110 was max. Whatever. Then also 22 to vitality, which is 44 life, 66 life, 88 life, depending the character. Really good. Defense first missile. Then you have obviously just your base stuff of your Talthol or Am. But you also have 2 to all skills. Again, for a single weapon slot. Amazing. Or shield slot. 35 FCR, 25 to 35, which is so far above everything else. And then 55 hit recovery, which is almost one of the worst parts about it, because that gets you so many frames for your hit recovery that it kind of makes it you don't need hit recovery on any other items. Like, you get one small charm or one grand charm to kind of go with it, depending your character, and then you're good. It like solves all of your hit recovery because you have so many frames on it. And I kind of hate that it's 55 hit recovery, because there's no other item that really comes close to that and also has godly power and whatever. So it just knocks out all the breakpoints right there. 86 is most that all classes need. So you just get like a couple other small pieces and you're good. Really annoying. Let's look at some other pieces. Lidless Wall. By the way, this is required level 25, right? Lidless Wall, required level 41, 58 strength. You get 1 to all skills, 20 FCR, a little energy, which is not even close to the 100 mana you're getting, a little mana per kill, and then increase max mana 10%. You don't even get the mana to get as good as you would get with Spirit, and you get everything else so much worse. Viscerant Defender, I mean, it gives you +1 to sorceress skills and some block, but it doesn't do anything else. Wall of the Eyeless, it gets you 20 FCR and some mana per kill, but it doesn't do anything else. That's your caster shields. That's it. That's all you get for casting on shields. Storm Shield, you get some nice res, and it does give you this physical damage reduction, so Storm Shield's kind of like the only other shield that you're really slotting in if you want to go for this crazy block build. But again, it's just like, what? It just, I mean, it's so good. And then it's also on weapons. What the heck? It's also on weapons. And you can't find a better caster weapon at this point. You just can't. It just kind of replaces all the other caster weapons as well. For Talthol or Am. This one, I mean, it's so like lovely to bake and it feels so good, but you're right, there is Splendor. How could I forget Splendor? $1 skills, 10 FCR, 10 energy, some regen mana, and 20 MF. For Ethlum. You can't even get a Lum rune at Nightmare Countess. You got to go to Hell Countess there. Or maybe get lucky on your Nightmare Forge if you want to make it there. I wouldn't even call that getting lucky. Pretty disgusting. You want to look Rhyme? Rhyme is not giving you FCR. It has 25 all res and cannot be frozen, which is nice for blocking early on, you know, and for, blocking and then just for being melee. But there's no, it's so gross. Yeah, basically it's like you do this until you get Hodo, which is crazy. And item number 5, stealth. Stealth does the same problem that grief does, except thankfully, at the very least, it does get overtaken, which I guess is the same problem that Spirit has as well. There's no better caster item, and every rare shield and many rare weapons are instantly nullified and trash. If I go and get an amazing 2 to source skills, 20 FCR orb that I find, it doesn't matter because I have Spirit and it's just better, right? Stealth does the same idea. Grief does the same idea. They just destroy all the other options to go in their place. Stealth, 25 faster unlock, 25 faster cast rate, 25 faster hit recovery. It seems kind of innocuous and like, oh yeah, it's just like a little more run walk, a little more hit recovery. That's nice. But just the values being at 25% and all 3 of them really just add so much value, right? Having that faster run walk is huge, not just for speedrunning, but just for positioning for any of your characters. Having that cast rate is massive. You can't get that unless, again, you're finding a Viper Magi or something, which is coming later on anyways. And then you get nice res and the $1 skills, but then you lose the run walk and right? Hit recovery is just nice to have, get you a couple breakpoints. So even though these bottom things are like small nice to haves, not really anything, these top 3 things, it makes me feel kind of sad how much they just remove all the other rare items along the way leading through the start of the game, because it's just pretty much always better. Even on many melee characters and things, range characters, it's generally just always better to have a stealth. So those are my top 5. Now, you could argue other items like Insight. You could argue other, items if you want, like Shaco or something, whatever. I don't know. I think this is it. I think this is your OP spot. It does show some value again for things like classic Diablo 2 and stuff, where you don't have to run into these, and you do get to find a lot more joy and fun with a lot of cool rares. So that's why a lot of people still love classic, because you just have that. Anyways, I'd love to hear your thoughts down below. Don't forget to like and subscribe to YouTube. This is your daily dose of Diablo. Peace, everybody.